Greetings, everybody, and welcome to the Blue Zone discussion of Skybound Entertainment's new animated film dropped on Netflix.
Skydance, you mean?
Yeah, right.
Oh,
Wow.
Skydance.
Sorry,
Skydance,
I was thinking of the
Skydance.
good Ninjago season. With me today is Jova.
My God, I haven't been here in years, and this is what finally brings us back.
And also, Pedro.
You can basically blame me for this one. I'm the one who had the brilliant idea of watching this movie with the two of them.
I'm actually not too surprised we're discussing this. Skydance were a new studio who you probably have heard of, have been founded under the tutelage of one Mr. Misconduct himself. John Lasseter, essentially. Now, to be fair to him, while he is apparently a dick, I always hold that doesn't erase the talent of what somebody has. That doesn't mean I think that they should get work, but I respect that they had the talent. That said, going off of the two films from now, Skydance is not shaping up to be the competition that Disney needed.
No.
I mean, that's DreamWorks.
Okay, the thing is, Skydance was kind of like what Illumination used to be. A new seat at the table, essentially. One that would, sort of help kick things into overdrive by showing the competition 1-4 and getting them to up their game, essentially, since, they haven't been doing as great. Now, like Dad said, that's kind of DreamWorks' job nowadays, but Skydance had potential, essentially.
And especially considering this movie, where this movie very clearly wants to quote-unquote show Disney how it's done.
Now, like Pedro alluded to, Luck came out and, oh god, Luck was a letdown, but man...
Unfortunate.
No,
they should have changed it to Misfortune.
Which, the thing is, though, if Luck was a letdown, Spellbound was a disaster, because, God, Spellbound actually gave me a new appreciation for Luck. Admittedly partially pointed out to me by Pedro, but still, though, holy cow, where to even begin with this thing? This waste of talent that apparently might be the worst thing that Alan Menken has ever composed.
Let's get into our general thoughts. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys 2 sentences to describe your initial thoughts. Pedro, go first.
Terribly made and uninspired.
Jova.
That's it.
It's a complete misfire, and it boggles the mind as to how this came to be.
Oh, well, that second one is easy to explain, but yeah.
Well, no. Look. I will say this. Yeah, we technically know how it came to be, but again, with the people behind it, you would think that maybe not everyone involved, but most of the people involved would have known better.
Except this was written by the writers of the Mulan remake, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's kind of the exception, admittedly, the writers, but okay. The director, though, and the songwriters, okay. Despite what the writers may be responsible for, I'm gonna get a bit ahead of myself, but the soundtrack for this movie is also lame. And, this is the Tangle duo working on those songs.
Yeah, but let me just give my initial thoughts. Hey, viewers, did you like Brave? Imagine Brave, but somehow even worse.
Oh, I mean...
At least Brave explains how its world works.
That is such a bare-bones lake to crawl through, but sadly, that is accurate.
Jovo, you've seen Class of 3000, right?
Yes, I love that show.
Okay, remember when if we described if I described Brave as we have Disney at home, Spellbound is those bootlegs that Cheddar was selling.
Oh no. Again, he is sadly right. Okay, I remember when trailers of Spellbound first showed up, and I remember all the jokes about the movies it looked like. It was like, hey, we have Onward at home. Hey, we have, God help me, Tangled at home. Or hey, we have Beauty and the Beast, but the kid version at home. Which
I wish this
ironically
movie
that
of any of those.
ironically that Beauty and the Beast comparison was kind of apt given the plot twist at the end, but that is so far down the road.
All right, so the best place to start out, I think, is the beginning. So shall I start the synopsis?
Right ahead.
All
Let's
right.
do this.
All right, so Spellbound takes place, and by the way, I genuinely forgot about this the first time I watched it. It takes place in the kingdom of Lumbria. I swear, I don't remember. I've watched this movie twice, and I don't remember where exactly do they mention the name of the kingdom.
I'll admit, I
But
kind of
okay,
only remember it having that name because of a synopsis on Wikipedia.
Yeah, okay, so it takes place in the kingdom of Lumbria, and we meet our main character, Princess Elian, played by Rachel Zegler, who I should say immediately is phenomenally wasted in this character, by the way.
Oh, Rachel Zegler. She kind of made an ass of herself during the marketing campaign for Snow White, but even I do think she deserves better than this.
Okay, so basically she's flying around the castle with flying giant cats, or I don't know, they don't really explain what these things are. They're just flying cats.
Yeah. About that, audience, while the kingdom itself has a name, I can't be damned to. I am absolutely certain that no creature was given a name in this thing. At best, you just say, "This is monsters. I'm a rat. I'm a squirrel," even though that's clearly not a squirrel. Well, whatever that little purple thing is.
The small creatures towards the third act, those are the flinks. I do remember that because they actually do say their names. But again, who cares? That song is just filler anyway. But the point is, yes, moving on. So basically, there's this thing where she's, but then she gets called because she apparently can't keep playing with her friends because she's called in by Minister Nazara, who once again wastes Jennifer Lewis completely as well, because this character also does nothing. Because apparently something's wrong, and what happens? Alien starts our opening song number that called "My Parents Are Monsters," which basically sets up the premise that yes, her parents are monsters. Why are her parents monsters? Well, we have to watch the movie up until the end to find out now, wouldn't we?
Okay. I gotta bring this up. Now, I remember the marketing actually showing her parents turning into monsters and giving off the idea that, things would actually start off with the kingdom being normal instead of literally plopping us into the plot with her parents already being monsters, but that's not how it is in the movie. I was blindsided that, they treat it like it's a twist to wait and see how her parents became monsters, even though the marketing already showed them becoming monsters. Now, admittedly, they do keep the twist as to why they became monsters a secret, but I still feel like the storytelling is out of order.
Yeah. I'm going to talk about that myself later when I get to what is supposed to be what they intended for it to be the breakout song of the movie.
Well, how about something that is present, though, the song, since, that's kind of the first song there.
So, yeah, My Parents Are Monsters. Once, like Jova said, it's composed by Alan Menken, the legendary composer that gave us the brilliant soundtracks of the Disney Renaissance, as well as Glenn Slater, who's been his partner for a long time. He started working with Alan Menken in Disney's Hercules, which has great songs in my opinion. And they're all mostly known for doing songs for the Tangled franchise, both movie and series. And they did a fantastic job with those two. So you'd think these songs for this movie would also be great, right? No. Now, to Alan and Glenn's credit, I don't know just how much it is their fault, because with this nothing burger, terribly written, terribly thought up story, I don't know how they must have been struggling to come up with really good lyrics to get inspiration for good lyrics from this movie. But again, it doesn't change the fact that the songs are not good. This song, the lyrics of the song basically amount to she's mostly more like talking, singing her talking rather than actually properly singing. The lyrics have no poetry to them and just spell out what's happening.
I guess we should talk about who the director is, Vicky Jensen, in that regard.
Yes, the director is Vicky Jensen, who you may know as the director of Shrek 1 and Shark Tale, Deji's favorite.
That movie's a masterpiece.
Thank you.
Sure.
It deserves... Jova, do you think it should have been nominated for an Oscar?
Yes, because Will Smith plays the legendary Oscar protagonist.
So you're telling me that Shark Tale is better than The Incredibles?
I didn't say that.
Well, come on. Who said that? We said it should have been nominated, not win.
Yeah, Pedro. I'm a Shark Tale enthusiast. I'm not a madman.
Yeah, come on.
Okay, fine, whatever. The thing is with Vicky Jensen, I will argue, because when you look at the way the musical events are in this movie are directed, I get the feeling Vicky Jensen wasn't really the right choice to direct this movie, because like I said, when you look at Shrek and Shark Tale, Vicky Jensen's, and by the way, this is her first time directing an animated movies in 20 years.
Not only that, I think this is her first time directing a flipping musical at that.
Yes.
I mean,
that's what I was about to get into. Vicky Jensen's, I guess, specialty is satirical films. The kind of movies you specifically Shrek 1 and Shark Tale. Not really fairy tale Disney-like musicals. That's not really our wheelhouse, and it shows, because when you look at the way the musical sequences are directed, they don't really have the same choreography you see in Disney movies.
The closest she's been to musicals is being a story artist on Pinocchio and the Emperor of the Night. Yes, that Disney knockoff. As well as also being a design artist on Pound Puppies and the Legend of the Big Paw. I guess she was also a story artist, layout design, and art director in Ferngully The Last Rainforest, which I guess was also a musical. But other than that, nope.
I'm not gonna. Just to give you an idea, every single musical number, and I do mean every single one, ends with the character singing that song, standing quiet, standing still with their hands, with their arms stretched, always the exact same way. There's never any variation on that. It feels very formulaic.
Weird.
But anyway, continuing the story. So yeah, her parents are monsters. Why? We'll figure out later. Problem is, the kingdom cannot really be run by monsters, which means that secretly Alien has been running the kingdom with the help of Nazra, aka Nazareth Prone, and the other Minister Bolinar, the Minister of Communications, he calls himself. Keep this in mind for later. Minister of Communications. Keep this in mind for later, because I'm going to make a point about this character later.
I immediately have to call bullcrap that they've apparently managed to keep the secret from the entire kingdom hidden for that long. I mean, I guess there's technically a reason why they do it, but I'm sorry. Even knowing what happens later on, I feel like the logical conclusion would have been, hey, tell the kingdom about this so that you don't have to hide it constantly. And when we do figure out how things happen, I'm wondering, how did they keep this secret given what actually happened?
Well, actually, they explain, to be fair. Here's what they do. Every time the general comes up to try to, where are the king and queen, they always come up with some kind of new excuse. Border dispute, state visit, trade summit. And for this new one, at the beginning of the movie, the Minister of Communication comes up with a new one, colonoscopies, as an excuse for why they can't see the king and queen. Now, I'm not entirely confident in how exactly there are colonoscopies in this fantasy medieval-esque world, but whatever.
Magic colonoscopies.
So yeah, Minister Bolinar, who's played by John Lithgow, who you may know from Third Rock from the Sun, he came up with an idea for why the general can't do it. And yeah, but the general says that they're not giving up, and at some point they'll see the king and queen. So
I'll just specify that when I still call bullcrap, it has to do with when we actually see. Actually, you know what? I can say this ahead of time. When we do see that the parents got, turned into monsters, they had a royal procession with them that are conveniently never seen elsewhere in the movie. So, did Rachel Zegler's character kill them, banish them, swear them to a life of secrecy, to the point where they're apparently even their superior, the flipping general, doesn't know?
Okay. That's okay. Alien has a plan, because Alien has consulted 2 oracles to try to find a way to break the spell. And then we meet this guy, I guess, because that shows up only for one scene and never again. This old guy who's carrying a pigeon, and they start, and this is where I have one of the major parts of this movie: the comedy. The comedy in this movie sucks, and I do mean it sucks bad. It's like the joke involving this guy about how his pigeons got killed just to get the message is so drawn out. It feels like a joke.
It feels like Shrek the Third.
Yeah,
where
I was gonna say current Family Guy, but that works too.
The director, she worked on the original Shrek, right? That's the problem I have with a lot of comedies, is that you should never let your joke last too long.
Yeah,
it's the absolute worst thing you can do.
Yeah,
and this is an advice to all YouTubers who do skits or something like that. Condense them.
Get to the point.
Yes, please.
It's
to
just
quote, to quote my all-time favorite Shakespeare quote: "Brevity is the soul of wit."
And it's weird because this movie this movie ain't even that long, and yet it feels more stretched out than even Avatar: The Way of Water. I'm sorry.
But anyway, moving on.
Yeah, the oracles. So one of the oracles is played by Nathan Lane.
Fresh off the Disney Renaissance, of course.
Yes. And by the way, Alien's pet is played by D. Bradley Baker.
By the way, looking back, you mentioned that the species name is Flink. No. Apparently Flink is just the name of her pet rodent.
Oh, is it? Well, okay. Joke's on me then. The other oracle is played by, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, so help me. Titus Burgess. Is that it? Is that how you say it? He's known for receiving the Emmy. He's known for Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt.
He was also notable for, playing as Sebastian in the Broadway adaptation of The Little Mermaid, so he's also got that sort of Disney connection.
Basically, the Oracle Spirit purple things there in the pigeon's message also do another joke that is not funny, involving one of the oracles repeating what the other oracle says, specifically the last word of each sentence 3 times, because apparently repeating words is funny. So basically the say is, we're going to come to the kingdom ourselves, and we're going to help you figure out the spell thing. Okay, cool. And Alien becomes all happy. Meanwhile, Bolinar and Nazara, the ministers, are... And by the way, Jennifer Lewis, here's an actual line that Jennifer Lewis... Keep in mind, this is Mama Odie from Princess and the Frog, for those who don't know. And she says, and I quote, "This is how I have to spend my morning, designing a monster pooper scooper." I really hope Jennifer got paid well for this movie. But... Okay, the point is they're saying, we need a real leader. We can't go on like this. So basically, I'll just call her Jennifer Lewis. So Jennifer Lewis has the brilliant idea that, okay, you know what? The princess is 15 now. Let's just make her queen. We'll crown her.
Which prompts another song number.
Yes, this prompts another song called Let's Take a New Direction, I think. So basically, it's them singing, and it's a song that is weird because it kind of sounds like, tone-wise, like a villain song, even though it isn't.
It does, yeah.
Mid-song, Alien shows up, and the song basically she agrees in the song that, okay, if the oracles can't figure this out, I'll agree to be crowned, and that's it. That's all the song really tells it. Even though the song goes on for like 3 minutes and doesn't really need to, but we don't really know anything about the characters. It doesn't really only the final 10 seconds of the song progress the plot, so I don't know why the song is 3 minutes long, but whatever. The point is, yes, so the oracles come in. So the oracles are 2 blue people who come out of a giant frog,
who may or may not be a gay couple.
Yeah, it's kind of implied that they're a gay couple, but not really. They don't really make it clear if it's not like, but whatever. The movie doesn't care. Why should I? Here's the problem, though. The monsters, aka the parents, start chasing the oracles all over the castle, and the oracles decide to run away in their frog, and there you go. That's it. They're like which means that the plan failed before it could even start.
Oh god, the plot's still going.
I'm just going to say this. So you would think that this means that, had they finished what they were going to try and finish, that would mean that, the plot would have been solved, which, okay, that would mean that the plot is legit just spinning its wheels. That being said, the reveal of what would have happened is arguably potentially even more dumb. We'll get to that. It's just, oh god, this movie wastes so much time.
Yeah. Meanwhile, we have a sad scene of her feeding her parents, and we have a moment in particular that made Deji really mad, where Ellen thinks that maybe the mom is, potentially having a brief moment of clarity where she's looking at her as mother and not as monster, but then the movie ruins the mood for that by having her spit a fish out of her mouth. So
wacky.
It's because I saw the joke coming.
And this is so Ellen leaves the cage and goes back to her room, and she starts singing what was clearly meant to be the breakout song of the movie, because there's a pop version that plays during the credits called "The Way It Was Before." This is supposed to be the breakout song and Rachel, and I will give her this, okay, when it comes to her comments on the Snow White marketing thing, I'm going to maybe give her the benefit of the doubt and say that maybe she's not good at giving interviews, kind of like Katara's actress from Netflix Last Airbender. We'll see how things go. I don't want to immediately denounce her as a bad person just yet. Because I will say this, for as bad as the songs are, Rachel Zegler is trying her fucking hardest to carry this movie. Because even though the songs are written like crap, I at the very least enjoy listening to them because of Rachel Zegler's amazing singing voice. So there is that. She has the perfect kind of that traditional, iconic Disney princess type singing voice that you always imagine when you hear a Disney princess singing. And and she's wonderful. So, and she tries her freaking hardest to sell these songs to you. It's useless because they're literally unsellable, but kudos to her for trying her hardest. And yes, this is also where Jova's problem that he mentioned becomes clear during this song, because this is the song that the movie uses to give you flashes of what life was like before the parents were monsters. And this creates a major problem because, like Jova said, it would have made a lot more sense if we had a prologue at the beginning. I even said this when I was watching this blind with Deji. It would have made a lot more sense to have a prologue that explains and shows us how this happened to begin with.
Okay. Actually, there's something I do want to say, since we see how the parents look. And it was something that was bothering me throughout this entire movie. And I mean this with no disrespect.
Go on.
I genuinely thought this movie looks visually ugly, and because of how bad things have gotten now, I thought it was made in AI. Like you see all those what if Nintendo or Disney made an AI memes that look so cursed. That's how it looked like to me. And I even ran it through one of those. It's just AI detectors, and it said yes. But it's like I don't think that's reliable. But it's just
a funny thing.
Something. What happened?
It gave him like a 91% certainty that it's AI generated. But okay, yes. Here's the main problem with the way the movie is handling the backstory of how the parents became monsters. This song is meant to make you feel and empathize with Ellen's plight, that she's desperate because she despite her being 15, she's still a child at the end of the day, and she wants her parents back. She wants, as the song puts it, for things to be the way they were before, when she was living a happy life with her parents, before this moment where now she has so many responsibilities that she can't even have fun anymore. So yeah, here's the problem. we do not know how her parents were before this happened. We have no context.
I guess one could argue that's supposed to be part of the twist, but no. I'm sorry. We should have at least gotten a glimpse of what kingdom life was before her parents became monsters and all that.
Here's another piece of writing trivia that much like the one I said before, that I'd like to mention about this kind of thing. It's impossible for the audience to empathize with a character's loss if we don't know what has been lost. There's a good reason why Up starts with that 10-minute dialogue-free montage detailing Carl and Ellie's life. Because in order for us to empathize with Carl's loss of Ellie, we have to get to know Ellie and what she meant to him. So that way, when she dies, we actually empathize with his loss because we know what has been lost. Because we don't know anything about her parents. We don't know what their personalities are like. We don't know what kind of dynamic they had. To be fair, the song gives us brief flashes of what it was like, but it's all very generic moments of them just having generic fun. Like, the movie doesn't really do a good job giving us a good insight into what their relationship was like as a family. And as a result, it's impossible for us to feel anything because we can't empathize. We don't know what she lost. That's the basic problem, and that Jova was trying to get across. Anyway, moving on. Next day, she wakes up, and turns out she forgot to close the cages. And as a result, her parents escaped from the cages, and are terrifying the entire kingdom, which means the secret is out now. The first alien tries their best to mend everything and try to get them, and the general even gets the soldiers to try to capture the monsters, but alien stands in front of them saying, "No, these are my parents." What? Your parents are monsters and shit? So what happens? They have a meeting at the castle where the general, I'm not kidding, this is one of the things that really baffled me about the story and the world building in this movie. The general makes the decision to send the parents away, and that's it. And she doesn't even consult anything and try to. Even Ellen says, "What? I wasn't briefed on this." Even though she's the princess now. I don't know how the world building in this game, in the world works in this movie because they didn't explain it. But general knowledge tells me that the general can't supersede the authority of the fucking royals and the ministers. That's not usually how the hierarchy in monarchies work.
Now, to be fair, there are some cases where obviously a kid being a kid may not be able to call of a shot, so there can be a case of there being something of a regency, in which case maybe the authority would go to the general. The problem is the lack of world building doesn't establish jack diddles about how the monarchy system works in this. Okay, if we're to assume this is a typical monarchy, Ellen could just ascend the throne, become queen, and go, "Hey, what I say goes, so let my parents be while we try and figure this out," essentially. But apparently the general would have authority to just do carte blanche, and it's not even like there's a war or anything going on, but they make it seem like the general wants to assume command, which, okay, could have maybe been an option to make her evil. Nope. I guess she's just so concerned for the well-being of the kingdom that she's like, "Oh yeah, let's just totally lock up," and I think it's kind of implied she wants to put down the parents at some point. She wants to, I guess, cage and muzzle them and
whatever. Because trust me, as Jova is already hinting, this goes nowhere anyway.
Have I mentioned that this movie is really hurting for actual conflict that feels earned?
Yep. Okay, so basically, what happens is, fortunately, the oracles left behind their magical thingamajig that I don't know what it's called because I forgot.
They call it the fob.
That's it, thank you. And here, now, you want to talk about summing up this movie quickly, Deji? Here's mine. Okay. She uses it to contact the oracles to ask where they are, so she can go with the parents to their house to figure out, to finally discuss how to break the spell. And here's where they need to go. The dark forest of eternal darkness. I'm going to say that again, in case you haven't heard it properly. The dark forest of eternal darkness. You want to really sum up this entire movie in just 5 words, there it is. Dark Forest of Eternal Darkness. This is wow. I mean, wow. You have to try really hard to be that generic and uninspiring.
Like
Wow.
I honestly wonder if that was a personal challenge with this movie. Like, the names are incredibly generic. Nothing was given like a species name. Heck, we don't even know what the regular citizens are, but apparently whatever they are, they all fear the darkness that turned her parents into monsters, and they're like, could this afflict us too? Like, yes, the whole kingdom is worried that they may have a pandemic on their hands, which, again, not to get too much ahead of myself, but when we actually figure out what caused her parents to turn into monsters, I legit have to wonder, how were they the only two who became monsters?
That's a good question.
That's
Shut
a good
up.
question.
Moving on.
Shut up. Moving on. We'll put a pin on that. We'll get back to that. Okay. Yeah. Like it's even if they just call it Dark Forest, it would be lazy. But no, they went out of their way to add the eternal darkness into it.
It feels like parody writing.
Even though Mura would look at this and think, dude, come up with a better, less darkness type name. Okay, so the basic point is, fortunately, the fob magically turns the royal carpet into what is clearly meant to be an homage to Cinderella, because it turns basically into the giant pumpkin carriage from Cinderella.
And we even have the bit where they have to outrace the guards before they close the gate and everything.
So yeah, here's an example of a better movie you could be watching instead of this one. So the general and the rest of the soldiers start chasing them, but they escape thanks to magic and blah, blah, blah. They finally get to the house. Turns out the oracles don't know how to break the spell. They only know where you need to go to break the spell. So why did they have to come to the palace then?
Well...
No, seriously. If the only thing they were going to do is tell her where to go, why did they even need to come to the castle? They could have just told her via the fob message.
To their credit, they did come to the palace to try and fix the magic on their parents. However, that just exposes the fact that the only reason we had to travel to the forest was because the mom interrupted them, I guess, coming to that conclusion. And you know what? Dicks, why didn't you tell Elian that over the phone? Like, I get it, they wanted the fob back, but otherwise, surely they could have told her, look, our magic can't work, essentially, or you actually have to do this instead.
So yeah, and they explain it to her where it is in song, and this song is also lazy, completely unforgettable, and not at all entertaining.
Something you gotta find the light and even the darkness and all that
blah
jazz.
blah blah. All right, so the basic point is we need to reach a lake of light, and that somehow will turn them back into humans, because magic, don't question it. So the next step is, of course, we need to go, and we have to also be stealthy because the general is flying around in the flying cat thing that is never named. Oh, and by the way, I forgot to mention this, but while this is happening, the Minister of Communication got magically swapped bodies with Fling.
Because the fob just does whatever. And and I know what you're thinking. Well, maybe we'll see a lot of crazy hijinks with the fob. Nope, we give it back to the two magical dudes, and that's it. Even though I bet you that fob actually would have been very handy for the journey, but alas.
Okay, so they go through this tree stump area where the magic thing in this movie is that every single time you say something nice, a blue thing comes out. Every time you say something mean or negative, a red laser comes out. Why does this happen specifically in this one tree stump? I don't know. It just does.
Okay, according to the two mages, supposedly it's not just the lake of light, but the entire journey that will help turn her parents back into whatever they regularly are, not monsters.
I guess, but at the same time, aside from low-key foreshadowing the twist in the third act, there's not really much point in this. It's quickly resolved, and people move on, and we basically forget about it. Moving on. After that, we get another terrible joke where the father now suddenly starts speaking, and this is where quite possibly the worst joke in the movie comes up, where she literally goes, "Oh my God, father! Oh my, what do you have to say to me?" And his response is, "I have liquid in my body that I have to leak out," and then he goes pee.
Such a great use of Javier Bardem.
You know what, hey, Jova? It's literally the I have to pee moment from Alpha and Omega 5.
You are now imagining Anton from No Country for Old Men saying that.
Think about this. Here's the actual line. I have to release liquid from inside myself. That's the actual line. Okay. Think about this, Jova. This supposed movie made by, renowned filmmakers who have worked at DreamWorks and Disney, is now taking cues from Alpha and Omega 5.
God.
Think about that for a moment.
And again, now her parents can talk, and they're voiced by Javier Bardem and Nicole Kidman, respectfully.
Which do a decent job considering the terrible script they were given. Again, most of the actors if there's one thing about this movie that has to be mentioned positively, the actors are not the problem. These are really good actors that have given plenty of great performances in other films. Let's face it, this script, fucking Orson Welles couldn't make this script sound compelling.
But man, is that a tempting idea.
Okay, so they keep walking. They keep finding big rocks, shiny rocks, and teeny weeny rocks because, rocks are funny, I guess. So they continue trying to find the beacon, because there's a beacon that helps them there. And then later we have what is supposed to be a heartfelt scene where they're in the top of a hill and it's nighttime, and she's talking about how, do you see a light and everything, blah, blah, blah. So basically it's meant to be like a heartfelt moment. And we also have a new song. I actually forgot what this song is named.
These songs suck.
They do.
You don't say, Ditch. You don't say.
Jova, this is Alan Menken's Sonic 4.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. God damn it, he's right. I mean, and look. I'm someone who actually doesn't mind Sonic 4's soundtrack as much as most people do. Although I'm more into Episode 2's soundtrack than I am Episode 1's. But, God, what was Alan Menken on when doing this? Okay, even if he's not the main lyricist guy, he usually can, he has good lyrical prowess, as we saw in that documentary dedicated to him, so surely he could have pointed out to his partner,
Glenn
Slater, Glenn, you sound like you are well off your A game. What's going on? I mean, and the thing is, even the music and melodies are nothing to write home about.
No, they're not. And that's not, like I said, they have an incredibly terrible movie to draw inspiration from lyrics. So I don't blame them entirely. But like Jova was saying, even in shitty movies, they at the very least are able to come up with something better than this usually.
Alan Menken did music for Home on the Range. I can actually remember those songs. I can barely remember anything from this. So yeah, I'm going to go there. Home on the Range, the movie that some argue killed Disney's 2D animated streak, was a better usage of Alan Menken than this.
Hell, literally go and this is a TV series, it's not a theatrical event thing. Go watch the Tango TV series. Pick any, and I do mean any song from that series, and they're all excellent songs that do a great job enhancing the story, and they're just catchy, really fun songs in their own right in general.
So the Tango series was how Alan Menken apparently completed his music awards collection.
Yeah, it gave him an Emmy. He already won a Grammy, an Oscar, and a Tony. The only one that he was missing was an Emmy. And he got an Emmy for a song for season 2. So again,
and that wasn't that long. And it wasn't even that long ago, so it's not like he had a long streak of being off his game or anything before this movie.
The Tango series ended in 2020, so as far back as 2020, we were still getting great Alan Menken songs. I'm willing to bet that this was just a misstep for him. Anyway, to continue the synopsis. By the way, The general, and you can basically forget all about the general, and especially Minister Nazara, because they don't really do anything for the rest of the movie. I mean, they lose significance whatsoever.
There is that one scene with the quicksand and I guess the final act, but yeah, otherwise nothing.
Yeah, that's basically it. And now here's the point where I have to once again question the world building of this movie. Remember Minister Bolinar? You might remember that Flink is now in his body, and somehow they managed to get Flink to participate in the chasing. And Bolinar is now wearing his armor because it's common in the monarchies for ministers of communication. Remember, this is not me saying it. This is what the movie says. He's the minister of communication. To have battle armor and go fight in the wars, right? This is totally common for ministers to do that, right? How does that work? Is this somehow that's not typically what ministers do? Maybe this is something unique to this particular mythology. But again, the movie doesn't explain a goddamn thing about how anything in this world works.
Any ideas, Dej?
I don't know. I just because they thought it would be funny, and I think they established that he was a warrior earlier.
No, they don't. Trust me. Okay. I have looked through this thing. I have rewatched scenes. I have made sure
because after he swaps his body and he sees the pet in his body wearing his suit, it's like, is that my armor or something like that? I guess.
Yeah, that's the thing, Dej. Yes, he says, is that my armor? But that still doesn't answer my question. Why does a Minister of Communications have an armor?
You see now, a smarter story would have established that before he became Minister of Communications, he was, a retired war soldier, essentially.
Hell, you could have easily thrown a simple line. Instead, have him say, oh, it's my armor from when I was a soldier. There. Problem solved.
Why?
I literally just pulled this out of my. I literally just pulled this out of my ass, literally right now. And these, professional writers who got paid to write this couldn't bother coming up with that basic line.
I compared this to Luck earlier, but I kid you not. Luck, for all of its issues, actually has a very detailed explanation of how its world and lore works, essentially, with how Luck is generated by the mystical realm, essentially, and how it works with all this or that. This feels like the exact opposite. If Luck over-explained some stuff, this feels like it goes out of its way to explain nothing. And,
anyway,
you will just want the users to use their imagination?
Is that a fancy way of saying we couldn't bother coming up with this, so you can make up your own theories because we can't be bothered to write our story? Anyway, the basic point is this. So we continue. So what happens is we get, and trust me, that's saying a lot, the worst song in the movie, where Minister Bolinar in the body of Flink starts singing. I'm not kidding. The other creatures that are apparently the same species as Flink start hailing him as a god or some shit, or their leader, or whatever. Who cares? And at first he's resistant, but then he starts singing a song called "I Could Get Used to This"
after eating a bug.
And I'm not kidding you. This song has no purpose. It's just him saying, "Man, I could get used to being treated like a king," and that's it. There's nothing else you glean from this song. It's just filler. Pure filler.
I guess technically it does set up for when Flink's species helps out during the final climax, but...
That didn't require a 3-minute song, though.
It did not. But hey, were you not entertained?
Nope.
Well, then yeah, it was useless.
This is the kind of movie that you put on, there's bright colors. It should keep your 5-year-olds quiet for 90 minutes.
I legit have to wonder.
I think, no, this movie is longer than 90 minutes.
Yeah, it's 1 hour. Well, right when the title comes up and then the credits start, it's 1 hour 34 minutes and 50 seconds. So 1 hour 34 minutes. There's literally like almost 20 minutes of credits in this movie, by the way. Jesus. But yeah, going back to the synopsis, yeah, the song sucks and it serves no purpose. It's the end. Moving on. After this, they find white flying cats, and these are white for some reason. I'm guessing they're meant to be different species. Not that the movie explains this or even explains how they relate to the other normally colored flying cats we saw, but whatever.
Wikipedia describes them as griffins, though honestly, that's not a typical griffin design.
Yeah, that's the thing. The word griffin is never uttered in the entire movie.
Yeah, definitely not.
I've watched this movie twice, and I've been rewatching scenes to check. I could not find a single moment where these characters call these things griffins. And as Jova said, even if they did, it would be questionable because the griffins don't typically look like this. Anyway, so finally they reach the mountain where the Lake of Light is. So they run up there, and this, ladies and gentlemen, is where the third act starts, and the twist comes that reveals what this movie has been about all along. And if you thought the world building was bad before, this single twist makes things exponentially worse. Okay. So when the parents try to get into the Lake of Light, they have a vision of what happened and turn them into this point. The fact that they were arguing because they can't get along anymore, and they realized, oh crap! Now we remember that's what happened. The anger, we let it and they say, I'm not kidding. This is what they say: the anger, we let it consume us. And immediately I realized, and I told Edge, wait, oh my God, this is an allegory for divorce. Yes, it is, ladies and gentlemen. This movie turns out as an allegory for divorce.
So it's not just Brave, it's also It Takes Two.
And like I mentioned, it's kind of like an anti-Beauty and the Beast, because their conclusion is automatically, to break the spell, we have to divorce. So, like, whereas Beauty and the Beast, it's like, you need to find true love in order to no longer be beast. Here, it's like, divorce your ass.
Yeah, here's the thing, though. It Takes Two made it clear that it was about divorce from the get-go. This movie, on the other hand, blindsides you completely with this reveal because, yes, technically there were moments that were meant to foreshadow that the parents don't get along anymore. But they only become foreshadowing moments when you have that hindsight to begin with. There's not really any moments that really make, genuinely put that option on the table. Not really. And as a result, this twist feels like it comes out of left field.
Also, another thing is, like, when it comes to It Takes Two, it was never clear whether or not they actually did divorce. Like, there was an argument to be made that they did divorce. There was an argument to be made that they actually did rekindle their relationship.
The ending is kept ambiguous, and so you can... Again, it's kept ambiguous, but the point is that they're going to get along for the sake of their daughter, at least. So that was the point. Like,
yeah, the problem with this one is they immediately go to, we need to divorce. They don't even consider maybe getting couples therapy or something. It's just, well, we had problems, time to throw in the towel. And they immediately also land this on their daughter right at the last second. Again, instead of thinking, maybe we can try and get help, it's like, Elian, turns out, we weren't good and we decided we need to divorce. She'll be fine with that, right? Like...
Yeah, that leads into something that I was going to bring up that I saw in a review online, because to follow up on what Jova just said, there's no attempt on part of the parents to maybe try to talk to someone, maybe try to figure this out. Again, because...
are you familiar with the meme that's divorce sends children into the worst places?
Yes,
Florida?
I've seen that one. Wait, what?
Yeah, that's basically this movie.
Yeah, basically. See, the thing is, the problem is that according to what the movie tells us, the reason they have to divorce each other is because apparently they had one fight. Because the movie keeps showing us the exact same one fight they had, and that's it. Like, they don't really show us anything more. Apparently, we're supposed to conclude that they've been angry at each other for a while now. But again, the movie doesn't really make that clear, and it only shows us one argument they have in the past, one, and like because, and once again, we have no context. We don't really have the sense that this couple is beyond help, not really. They just think they are just because they're angry.
And the problem is, like, we think maybe the journey is supposed to show that, but no, if anything, the journey was showing that they could potentially work if they communicate better. Like, obviously there was the log thing first, and then there was the quicksand bit, which we kind of skimmed over, but, essentially what it came to was working together. Like, there was nothing that really seemed to suggest that divorce was the answer.
Also, incompetent writers who wrote this, here's a tip for you. Go watch the Inside Out movies so you can learn that negative emotions are not inherently a bad thing. They can actually be a good thing.
So is anyone in this universe not allowed to have any sense of negative emotions?
Yes!
Is this Sonic 06?
Yes! Okay. Now we can finally bring back up that thing I was hinting at. So remember how the kingdom is all worried that, oh no, what happened to our king and queen? Could it happen to us? You are dead-ass telling me there ain't been no couple problems. There ain't been anyone who has argued enough to turn into monsters. It's like, nope, everyone's been A-okay, hunky-dory, good, healthy, and it was just the king and queen.
This is about as believable as trying to convince me that Elise never cried a single time growing up in Sonic 06.
To be fair, I get what they were trying to do. A fairy tale take on divorce. There was an idea, and with the right execution, it could have worked. But there's just...
Too bad we got the writers of the Mulan remake to do it.
Yep, that's the problem there. It's like, just like Mulan 2020...
I just wanted to assume that the Mulan movie being bad was because it was a live-action version of that film and they were dealt a bad hand.
No. I'll admit I never believed that because, look, as hard as it may be to believe, we did have good live-action Disney remakes at a time. Cinderella, Beauty and the Beast, Jungle Book, essentially.
Can we talk about the most underappreciated of all of them, Lady and the Tramp? Which is, in my opinion, actually better than the original movie.
Yeah.
It is. And the best part is no one has seen it, and so they don't know if it's true unless they go and watch it.
It's because that movie had the misfortune of coming out on Disney Plus before Disney Plus was a big thing to have, because it was in 2019.
In fact, I consider this a public service. If you are like us, watch Spellbound on Netflix, and here's a free tip for you. If you want to watch a great movie, go watch Lady and the Tramp, the 2019 on Disney Plus. And see for you might be surprised.
But no, seriously though, the Mulan 2020 writers really were going for, are they going for a hat trick with this movie, essentially? Because, again, their take on, divorce being going like that, feels like as well as however they understood how flipping chi works in the Mulan remake.
And like I said, this makes the world building, whatever little coherence it had, it has now crumbled completely. You're trying to tell me that, remember these are the words they use, the anger, it consumed us. So it's not just divorce that causes this, it's anger in general, apparently. So you're telling me that before this, because remember, the way this darkness works is clearly means that nobody knows how it works. Again, that's why we have to get the oracles to tell us what to do, right?
I'm guessing the idea is that the darkness comes to the forest, except that doesn't work because the darkness apparently follows them out the forest.
Exactly. So that theory goes out the window. So you're trying to tell me, movie, that nobody before this point has ever gotten angry at all? I'm sorry, movie. I refuse that. I refuse that notion. It's dumb. This twist single-handedly destroys whatever little possible good you could conjure up from this movie. because it renders the plot nonsensical, it renders the world building nonsensical, and again, it makes it really problematic, debatably, because this movie is trying to tackle what is a very delicate subject matter: the impact divorce has on the children that have to go through said divorce. In fact, right when they have to try to explain to Alien that they have to separate, Alien has a song called "What About Me," where she's basically angry at the parents for saying, "Oh no, so after all this time, after everything I've gone through to keep the kingdom going, you're just going to fuck it, we can't fix it, go on. After all I've done, basically."
She is absolutely right for getting mad at them. However, the story kind of treats it as kind of a lesson she has to learn. And again, I'm like, I get it. Divorce is a complicated subject, and sometimes it is at no one's fault, this or that. But I'm sorry, the fact that the parents immediately default to, oh, we got a divorce, we're not even going to try and save our relationship. And
you don't even have to, but at the same time, it's more, you gotta think about your kid.
Yeah. Which, to be fair, that's the lesson.
Yes.
That's the lesson they're supposed to learn at the end of this. Thing is, okay, now it's my turn to point out the visuals of this movie about something that you did earlier. Can we talk about how the effect of the dark tornado looks out of place within the rest of the
Mario
movie?
64's tornado-looking effect.
I know, right? Like the dark tornado effect looks really cheap. It looks out of place with everything, because for the movie, I will argue that for the most part, the movie looks fine. But every time the tornado shows up, it always looks bad, and I have no idea why. It's weird. Okay, I can't find any information about the budget of this movie. Fuck it. So basically, what happens is, guess what? The parents basically run away because they want to get help because Alien is now angry, which means she's about to be consumed by a dark tornado, which again demonstrates that this is not just divorce, it's anger in general. So Alien is about to turn into a monster as well. So the parents want to save her from turning into a monster, so they try to go get help. And guess what? Thanks to the help of Bolian still in Flink's body and the other creatures, they managed to stop the general and convince her that to help them.
You know, Pedro, the way you're discussing it sounds like it actually moved fluidly, but you're forgetting the fact that the story once again spun its wheels, because actually the general captured the parents right as Elliot was getting sucked up in the tornado.
What is the wrong with the general?
Yeah. Okay.
She kind of reminds me of you guys seen Strange World, obviously.
Yeah.
Yes.
She kind of reminds me of the pilot lady that became a last-minute antagonist for no reason because we needed a conflict.
The worst thing is she's not even fully an antagonist. So apparently her reasoning is like, oh, what did you do with the princess? And it's like, okay, originally you wanted them out of the kingdom. They're out of the kingdom. Leave them be and look for the princess. I mean, apparently they I think that they think at some point that they ate the girl or something, which, they could explain, but, well, they get muzzled. So that, once again, draws out the plot more. And then, eventually, that's when Flink's species comes and helps, because Bolinar, I think, went back to get them. Like, he also talks to Flink, who's in his body, to get the muzzles off them. And you think, okay, this is going to lead to a fight with the captain and the guards and whatnot. Nope. As soon as the muzzle comes off the parents, they immediately explain it. It's like, oh, they can talk. And then suddenly the general's like, okay, I'll follow your orders again. Like, okay, I get it. She initially thought that they were feral and she didn't know that they could talk. But man, the fact that she does a quick turnaround the minute that they can talk is just, wow, you were incredibly bare bones as, I can't even fully say antagonist, but I guess obstacle?
It's so weird.
It literally just is there to waste time before the parents go back and reach out to Elian.
Okay, so basically, after they've been freed, the parents go back and they decide, and they try to spewed more light water, whatever this thing is called, into the tornado. But they failed, so they decided to instead talk to her and finally apologize. We're sorry for not taking this into account, but ended with, of course, in another forgettable song that is not well written. And that's it. All it takes is for the parents to sing a 20-second song, and Aaron immediately turns a 180 and is now okay with the divorce. Because, this is totally believable and not at all insulting to actual children who have gone through divorces or anything.
Turning Red at least gave us a cool fight scene between the protagonist and her kaiju mother.
Jova, please don't insult Turning Red by comparing it to this.
But it bears something. Like, they chickened out. Like, if it were me, I would have had Alien actually fully turn into a monster, do some damage on the kingdom as a cool metaphor for the damage that the parents arguing was having on their daughter, and by extent the potential future of their kingdom. And then they would have had to, I don't know, maybe try and calm her down essentially after damage had been done. It's like everything gets resolved so squeaky clean for, divorce that it just feels like a cop-out.
Basically, Alien sings a reprise of The Way It Was Before, this time in a more positive sounding lyrics, of course. And the tornado goes away, and everything's fine in Dory. Because now the parents hug her, and they reconciliate, and this is enough to turn them back into humans.
So, and yeah, next we see they're divorced. They still live in the castle, but they live in different towers, but they still rule together, which, okay, a monarchy where the king and queen rule together but aren't married. Sounds like an idea. Barely explored, though, because it's pretty much just everything's happy, and yeah, the movie's pretty much over.
Okay.
By the way, Flink and Bolinar get put back in their bodies because...
Well, we forgot to turn that into an actual story arc that made sense. Okay. So, after this, we cut to Alien once again. By the way, this is something that I didn't bring up at the beginning of the movie, but Alien, both at the beginning and at the end here, she talks to the audience. Like, I don't really think fourth wall breaking is something that fits in a movie like this. Not really.
It was a fourth wall break?
Basically, at the beginning, right before she starts singing, she turns to the audience and go, "Yeah, this is my life, I know." And
right.
And then at the end, after the parents go back to human, she says, so she turns to the audience and says, "So things are really running around here. And I'll admit, I had my doubts, but I gotta say." And she says this while she's turning to the audience. So, again, having this kind of... Yes, I get it. Sometimes you have these stories that have the protagonists turn to the audience. Here's my story. Allow me to tell you what's happening. But usually when that happens, that means that you're making your protagonist also the narrator. But she only does it once at the beginning and once at the end.
I guess they didn't want to break the immersion that much.
Too late for that. Anyway, the point is the parents are now living separate, like Jova just said. She and get this, because normally I wouldn't do this, but I want to talk about the lyrics of the final, because now she sings a reprise of the first song, My Parents Are Monsters, because now the title is reversed, My Monsters Are Parents. And the lyric, I swear to you, these are some of the laziest lyrics I've seen in a song in a musical for a while. Check out these lyrics. Free to just be regular me, now that my monsters are parents. Spreading my wings, doing cool things. Happy my monsters are parents. Safe and secure, ready to soar, knowing my monsters are parents. And then she says, incredible parents. That's debatable, Alien. And they'll be my parents for good. Man, these lyrics are lazy.
By the way,
take a shot for how many times she says the word parents in the span of 15 seconds.
By the way the king dresses and looks feels like a knockoff of Disney's Beast.
Yeah, and that's it. The movie is over after that. After that, we literally get... Yeah, basically.
No, actually, you say knockoff Beast, he looks like the Rock if he was trying to cosplay as Maui before that live-action movie.
And yeah, after that, we literally get nearly 20 minutes of credits. Jesus. That's it. That's Spellbound, and all I have to say is, woof. If this was meant to be competition to get Disney Animation Studios to get their act together, nope. I mean,
Couldn't
I
have
haven't seen
been
Moana
worse
2.
time since Moana 2 apparently is a big box office success.
I haven't seen Moana 2 yet, but it has to be at the very least better than this. Jesus. The point is, that's the movie, and it sucks. All right, so what next, Edge?
Just what you think, like final thoughts or anything like that. If you just, because I don't even think we have a favorite. We can't even do favorite character, favorite scene, or any of that.
Oh, you were thinking about doing the whole Pokemon thing with that, like.
No, it's like this has none of that.
Let's see.
No.
Favorite scene. Yes, which of these wonderful scenes do I want to recount? Which of these ever so memorable songs that feel like they are on the verge of talking rather than singing do I recall to my lovely ears, essentially? Which character touched my soul in a way that tried to blind me from the banality of this picture? It's a travesty. It's an absolute train wreck of whatever talent they had for this. The actors, and by extension singers, are giving it their all, but this song, this movie gives them jack all to work with. And again, as far as we know, Alan Menken and Glenn weren't being mandated by anything that made their songs this bad, so I legit have to wonder what happened. Like, I'm not going to act like Alan Menken has never had a dud before, but I don't think he's ever had a dud that felt this soulless before. Like, even with his duds, they at least were things I could hum. They were things that I could actually find the good in. None of the songs feel like they reach even that.
Like, even Pocahontas, for as bad as that movie was, the songs were still good.
That is true. That is quite true.
I mean, this, on the other hand, is just like, ugh.
It really has just about nothing to its name to really, work. Like, look, when Flipping Sausage Party uses Alan Menken better than you, and mind you, I'm someone who actually likes Sausage Party, but when Sausage Party, crass as it is, uses Alan Menken better than a movie that's supposed to be eliciting the feel of a Disney movie, you have done screwed the farm. Oh, good Lord. And I know I come back to the music a lot, but they really made a big deal about how this was going to be the musical that was, bringing back those good Disney feels. Like,
oh, well, about that though, Jova. The first couple of trailers tried their hardest to hide that it was a musical. And since a lot of people online were complaining that they weren't advertising Alan Menken's involvement, they made a final trailer that even said, "You asked for it." And then they finally admitted Alan Menken is working on it, and that's it.
Oh, God, I wonder if the marketers knew. Like, I wonder if the marketers actually listened to the soundtrack, and that's why they hid the musical aspect of it, because
I do not envy whoever was in charge of marketing this movie, because if I was in charge of marketing this movie, I would look at this and, wow, I am so fired. I cannot for the life of me sell this thing.
Like, holy cow, they tried. It's just unbelievable. I think that's the best way to put it. It's unbelievable. Like, and not just the music, the writing. I don't think I've seen a story that goes so out of its way not to explain a single thing about the lore as much as this movie. Like, they don't name one single species in this. And I know what you're thinking, like, maybe we don't need to. No. It's a mystical realm with humanoids. I can't tell if they're supposed to be elves, beasts, or humans, technically.
Thing, by the way.
Like, Hyruleans are technically humans.
Yeah, that's something that Joe brought up when I showed the movie to him. And it's an interesting point to bring up. Every single person, and I do mean every single person in this movie, has pointy ears. So
And
is it like in Zelda? Was it like in Zelda where Hylians typically are all 20 years? But in here, everybody has 20 years.
And yet I wonder if they're elves, because people like the father, played by Javier Bardem, have also these underbite fangs like an ogre or something. But again, the movie doesn't explain what anything or anyone is.
No. Underbaked doesn't even begin to describe this story. This thing this thing is raw. It's not even underbaked. It's raw.
Like, let me put it like this. The only reason I don't think an AI did this is because I feel like even an AI, if it got a prompt, would be more detailed with its world than this. Good lord. And I guess the animation is overall good and decent. Even with the animation being good or decent, is it worth watching this movie for? Nothing more than a riffing thing, or if you'll watch it with our eventual commentary that we do eventually. Otherwise, no, there is no reason to watch this. Unless you're riffing the hell out of it, or watching it as, like, fodder for a review channel, or again, our upcoming commentary. Like, there is no point or purpose to this. And the thing is, I can appreciate something that's bad that's at least fun to look at. Spellbound is bad in the sense where I feel like I'm legit only having fun when I'm taking the piss out of it, and that's not even the sense of having regular fun with it. It's more as a defense mechanism to shield myself from just how lifeless this movie is. Like, nothing about it feels like it has a pulse or purpose behind it. And for the love of God, I hope Skydance themselves realize how much they screwed up with this, because if this is the level of quality we can come to expect from them, they won't last a decade.
They have to fire John Lasseter. Because according to people who have worked at Skydance, apparently John Lasseter is basically a control freak over there, and he doesn't let the filmmakers just do their own thing. Apparently this is, and remember, he's a producer on this movie. This is his baby. This is, I'm guessing, him trying to, outdo Disney. The same Disney that fired him.
I question if he was even trying, because unless he had a lobotomy, I don't get how the guy who, to his credit, saved a lot of Pixar material. In fact, if I recall correctly, he was the one who saved Toy Story 2 from being a disaster, essentially.
Toy Story 2 was originally being made without him, because after directing Toy Story 1 and Bug's Life back-to-back, obviously John Lasseter has earned himself a vacation, because his family hadn't even seen him up until, because he was, working and sleeping at Pixar at that time. So both him and his family were going to have a long family holiday, and Pixar was going to make Toy Story 2 without John Lasseter. The problem is it wasn't working well at all. The movie wasn't really good. They tried to ask Disney to delay the movie's release so they could take more time to fix the problems of the movie, but Disney wouldn't budge. So in a desperate attempt to save the movie, they asked John Lasseter to come out of his vacation and take over the movie.
So, but yeah, no, like, my point then stands. It's like, again, John Lasseter either lost his talent or lost his spark, or he's just had, ironically, nothing but bad luck ever since starting with luck.
That's the thing. John Lasseter hasn't been, quote unquote, doing good for a while, even before he was fired.
Allow me
to remind you that he was originally going to be the main director of Toy Story 4. The reason Josh Cooley directed it solo, because he was originally his co-director, is because, John Lasseter was fired, so obviously somebody else had to take care to finish that movie.
Between John Lasseter,
but Toy Story 4, that the Toy Story movie that everybody hates, that movie was John Lasseter's baby.
Ugh. Between John Lasseter and now Jennifer Lee, it feels like the chair position of Disney Animation is jinxed.
I have good news, though. I have recently watched Transformers 1, so now I'm happy to report that Toy Story 4 was not Josh Cooley's fault. It was John Lasseter's fault because Transformers 1 is really good, and you should watch it.
Yes, it is, absolutely. But
it's literally everything I've ever wanted in a Transformers movie. No humans, just a good old-fashioned animated movie.
But yeah, no, honestly, again, it just boggles the mind how it feels like it's not even just that nothing in this movie works. It feels like nothing in this movie wants to work, if that makes any sense. Like, there are so many ways that, honestly, you could easily at least make them feasible by just adding in a little bit of an extra line or this, something explaining something better, but the movie goes out of its way not to. It's not even a case where it feels like it's up to the viewer's imagination. It feels like it's up to the viewers to construct entire paragraphs of information to make heads or tails of the plot, essentially. And what we're left with is not even a fun game of Mad Libs, honestly. So, yeah, to sum it up, Spellbound is not good. It's actually an incredible downfall from the level of quality of Luck. So, yes, Luck can now go to sleep knowing that it's a better movie than Spellbound.
Me looking at Whoosh. Perhaps I was too harsh towards you.
No, that's the thing. Here's the thing.
I will never apologize to Wish. Wish made its bed as the 100th anniversary of Disney, and it slept in it. That being said, yes, Wish is a better movie than Spellbound.
See, no, here's the thing. And I will say this as well. No, here's the thing. Wish, for all of its problems, it actually explains how its world works.
Yeah, that's the problem with Spellbound. Spellbound misses the incredibly low bar of telling us anything. Except, the very bare basics. You know what? I'm going to go a step further. Spellbound feels like it has less world building than the original takes on fairy tales before the Brothers Grimm collected them into their big storybooks. Yes, stories told centuries ago before a lot of these standards were even formed have better world building than this modern film. Good God.
Yeah. So okay, I guess I'll go next then. Okay, so here's the basic gist of it. Yes, and I will say this, to add to what Deji was just now saying. Yes, and I will say this, for as much, Wish is better than this. Strange World is better than this.
Home on the Range?
Hell, I'll even go one further. Toy Story 4 is better than this movie. Because Toy Story 4, the main reason why people hate Toy Story 4, and for good reason, mind you, the main reason people hate Toy Story 4 is because it completely destroys what Toy Story 3 was trying to accomplish.
That and all the character assassination.
That and the character
assassination. Look at you, Buzz.
Buzz, Woody.
not just that, Buzz, Woody. Remember at the end of Toy Story 3 when Andy is describing Woody to Bonnie? Woody will never is loyal and he never abandons a friend. And skip to Toy Story 4, he abandons Bonnie.
Gave it all up for some porcelain ass.
Okay. So, but the point is, yeah, for as much as a lot of people talk about the recent bad Disney movies, and don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to defend those movies necessarily. Man, if this was supposed to be Skydance showing Disney how it's done, I get the feeling Disney animators are like, you know what? We're having problems, but at least we didn't make this turkey.
Like I mentioned, not helped by the timing that, in spite of its problems with quality, the Moana 2 movie is a box office success.
But no, okay, to back off a bit from Disney's case. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Spellbound is a disaster. It's a fucking disaster. Oh my God, it's so bad. Nothing in this movie works. Nothing. The comedy is terrible. The story makes no sense. The world building is literally non-existent. The the final twist that this is all about divorce completely renders the entire movie nonsensical. The characters are thin and underdeveloped. Look at Alien, for example. She's generic, plucky Disney heroine.
Can we even call her that, honestly?
You can literally... I literally cannot say a single more thing about her. There's literally nothing else to this girl. She's just generic, plucky Disney heroine.
But Pedro, her parents are monsters.
Yes, that's literally the premise. That's not a character trait. That's her... That's just the premise of the movie.
Well, the movie clings to it like a life raft.
The parents also don't really get any characterization whatsoever because for most of the movie they're just monsters and feral at that. So for the most part they don't even get any characterization. So I have no reason to give a shit about them. The ministers are kind of comedy, but not really. They're kind of half comic relief, half not. The general is one of the most bafflingly written characters I've seen in a while because I have no idea what was the thought process behind the writing of this character. At first it feels like they were building her up to be an antagonist, but no. So I have no idea what was the thought process behind her. I get that you needed some reason for why she and the parents have to go on the journey to the Lake of Light, but Jesus Christ, surely there must have been some better way to do this. Minister Bolinar, as in the body of Flink, he's just there to basically be the straight man, but he's not even good at straight manning. This is another girlfriends. Sorry. How about the fact that the orcas also don't have any character to them? Not really. They're just kind of quirky. Like and this is the big problem. The characters in this movie never rise above their archetypes. That's it. They're not characters. They're walking, talking archetypes, because they're not given any distinguishable personality to differentiate them from the basic trope that they belong in. These are not characters. They're just a collection of tropes. That's all this is, because there's no attempt to characterize these people at all. The songs are god-awful. The animation, for the most part, is fine, except for that terrible tornado effect that seriously, couldn't you come up with an effect that looks better than that? The voice acting is really good. The Raptors are trying their hardest to carry this thing, but of course they fail in the end because there's no saving this turkey. And yeah, that's it. It's god awful for all the reasons that we've been talking about throughout this entire video. It's not good. It's terrible. It's literally one of the worst animated films I've seen in a while. That being said, I will still argue that the people saying that Wish is the worst movie ever made, or the worst Disney movie, or it's a complete train wreck or something like that, I will argue those people need to see more movies.
I will say
I
this.
could show you some shit.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. Wish is pretty much Disney's equivalent to Sonic Forces. They are not nearly as bad as the hate would have you think, but I get why they're hated. Big anniversary releases that got hyped to the moon, essentially, but when they came out, they were big disappointments.
Interesting idea that they squandered.
Yep.
But that's the thing. At least Wish had ideas. This movie doesn't even have ideas.
No, this movie does have an idea. It's basically Brave. I would like to see a more fleshed out version of Brave, considering how that film's development got screwed over. So if you want to do it again, and also add the fact that both parents are affected and it has to do with a personal journey, that's fine.
Okay,
So
I'm curious, Stedge. Which do you think was better, this or Brave?
Brave. That's Brave.
I actually remember the main character of Brave's name.
Fair point.
At least the characters in Brave are actual characters. They're not the most amazing characters in the world, but they're at the very least defined as characters. They have personalities. They have more to them than just their archetypes, at least for the most part. Especially the mom and Merida herself.
You know,
the thing is,
I have a theory, honestly. I wonder if they were so obsessed with, maintaining the twist that this movie is about divorce that's why they were so vague about everything, because they were so worried that if they gave us too much information, that would spoil the twist.
Skill issue.
Yes, like
that sounds like a skill issue. It sounds like something like what happens with something like where Deji tells me that apparently Ian has problems with writing Knuckles while still keeping him guarded into the Master Emerald. My argument is tough. Writing is a difficult thing to do. Like, that's just how it is. Like, tough. Like, that's all I have to say to people who made this movie. If Jova's theory is correct, tough. I mean,
it's the most logical reason I can come up with as to why they're vague about... Well, okay, that wouldn't explain why they're vague about the species, but it would at least explain why they were vague about, her parents and, all the stuff leading up to that, because otherwise I can't think of a reason as to why they don't explain jack squat.
I think anyone, except Tom Green, goes out of their way to make a bad movie, but... Boy, they just needed better direction.
Man, Pedro, Freddy Got Fingered really did a number on him.
No, it's Bebe's Kids that did a number on him.
I mean, they're both terrible, but Freddy Got Fingered was made deliberately bad. Bebe's Kids there's nothing.
But Dad, I was told it's animation.
It is animation. Like this movie is also crappy animation.
Look, ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to announce that we're doing a impressions video on Bebe's Kids. Thanks, Jova.
Brilliant.
We're doing an
impressions... He just recorded the game as well.
We're doing an impressions video on a movie that's been out for years.
I'm recording the game?
Yeah.
You know what? Sure, why not?
Beautiful.
Okay. So to continue, no, it's like I've said, and I will stand my ground on this. You know how a lot of people talk about how Strange World and Wish are like the worst movies, animated movies out there or anything, when in reality they're just mediocre at worst. Spellbound actually is that bad. Spellbound is actually just as bad as the legends that will eventually show up about it will say. This is a movie that is destined to be remembered only as that shitty movie that released on Netflix while John Lasseter was the head of Skydance Animation. That's it. This is going to be much like movies like Quest for Camelot or Fern Gully or other 90s animated movies that were just copying the Disney formula verbatim and doing it badly. This movie is the modern equivalent of that. And as we've seen various times, the history does not often remember imitations. This movie, just like Luck, is destined to fall into obscurity, and modern mainstream audiences will forget about that it even exists, and animation buffs will just remember it as a shitty movie made by a studio that desperately needs help. If this studio is to properly serve as a proper competitor in the animation field, they need to fucking clean up house and first off fire John Lasseter. While that man is your chief creative officer, you will not get a good movie out of there. And you know what's the interesting thing? The next few movies that they're making, they have a movie directed by Nathan Greno, aka one of the directors of Tangled. They have a movie by Rich Moore, who apparently followed John Lasseter into Skydance. My guess is after Ralph Breaks the Internet was badly received, he decided, fuck, I'm out of here.
Apparently Brad Bird's also working on something.
Yeah, that's the funny thing. Apparently Brad Bird is working on was making a movie on that was hand drawn for it, but apparently that deal has apparently been put on ice because Brad Bird is now he's working on Incredibles 3 now. That's the weird thing.
Wait, so he's, I guess, trying to divide work between Disney and Skydance?
Apparently that project for now is being put on hold until he's done with Incredibles 3.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Hey, Brad, can you make Incredibles 3 not suck like 2, please?
Okay? Hey, Brad, you want to take my idea for Incredibles 3? No one has to know.
If only we could break into the industry, we could save it, Didge.
And And this time, Brad, can you actually make it multiple drafts until you get a good script instead of just turning in the first draft as the script?
Okay.
Also,
I
if
want
Disney tries to be like we're swapping release dates, fight for it. No, that's what killed. That's what hurt the second movie.
Yeah. To be a bit fair to Incredibles 2, it got screwed over because they gave more time to Toy Story 4, which is a cruel irony in and of itself, given how Toy Story 4 turned out. But yeah.
But yeah, the basic point. Yeah, we're also going to get another movie by Rich Moore. But it doesn't say what he's making apparently. And it says, oh yeah, no, never mind. It's the untitled Jack and the Beanstalk project. Apparently, you know how Gigantic was canceled because John Lasseter wouldn't let Nathan Greno do his thing. Apparently, he didn't like about it. So basically, apparently now it's being made at Skydance, and it's being directed not by Nathan Greno but Rich Moore. You'd think the Jack and Beanstalk movie would be given to Nathan Greno, the guy who was making Gigantic at Disney, but I guess not. I don't know. Anyway, Skydance's next movie is Nathan Greno's movie called Puku. I don't know what this is yet because we haven't seen anything from that. And guess what? Apparently, the failure of Strange World also caused Don Hall to leave Disney because he has an untitled project at Skydance as well.
I'm gonna be honest. Between the reception of Luck and the fact that I can't believe I'm just mentioning this now. This was Spellbound was supposed to be an Apple Plus exclusive. But not even Apple wanted it, so it's like, okay, we made a deal with Netflix.
Yep.
And of course
I don't think they're going to be around by the end of this decade.
No, I literally said that earlier in this video. It's like, if they keep this up, Skydance won't make it to the end of the decade.
See, Luck was directed by Peggy Holmes, who's mostly known for directing Little Mermaid 3 and the Tinkerbell movies, which are not exactly, high quality material, which is why Luck turned out mediocre as it was. Spellbound was directed by Vicky Jensen, who, in my opinion, was horribly misplaced as the director of this, because I don't really think this was something that was in our wheelhouse.
Like, ignoring the fact that she hadn't directed for a while, this was her first ever musical. Like, yes, Shrek and Shark Tale were hits for their time, but okay, even though there were song numbers in them, they weren't really musicals per se.
Yeah. So I guess if I'm going to try to be somewhat optimistic, at least to some extent, is say that the next few movies they have are being directed by Nathan Greno, Richard Moore, Don Hall, and Brad Bird, who have been demonstrated to be good directors. So maybe these movies will stand more of a chance. The problem is, John Lasseter is still the producer for all of these. And if there's one thing I've realized is that, John Lasseter is going to destroy this studio. He's going to run the studio into the ground. I have, at this point, I'm keeping my expectations for Skydance's movies low. Very, very low, because I have zero faith in the studio to turn out a good movie at this point. Zero. Mm-hmm. So Spellbound. It sucks bad, and it's the worst mainstream animated movie I have seen in a long time. Reggie, your thoughts, please.
You know me. I am always a strong person that believes, and there's no such thing as a bad idea in entertainment, besides AI and all that. However, this shows to me that you also need to put in the work to make the idea good. It's longer than most animated movies. The characters don't feel like characters, not even archetypes. The plot just goes at a snail's pace that while I was watching, I was getting bored. 20 minutes! When those oracles came in, and we were having the joke with them, I told Pedro, can we please watch something else? And I knew exactly where things were going.
Oh boy! And I was fun fact. I was actually willing to acquiesce the Edge's request But then he said, no, let's finish this.
That bad. I mean, granted, I watched it with Pedro too. I mean, I never wanted to actually quit the movie, but man, I was stunned with just how nothing it was.
And it's like, yes, this is a kids movie, but yes, kids deserve better. But this just feels like you guys kind of forgot. You guys start treating kids like idiots.
I'm sorry. I feel like even as a kid, I would have just been bored with this.
Same.
Yeah.
I'm pretty confident little me would have been just bored.
Like, you know, there's
I was at my brother's place for Thanksgiving, and one of my sister-in-laws was on Netflix, and you saw that. And I just said, "Don't." I was like, "Did you see Brave? It's like Brave. Don't watch that."
I was curious if you were willing to experiment and see if they would actually like it.
No. Although I do need to start making my nieces watch good stuff instead of just watching YouTubers.
I can tell you this, Tej. I can tell you one thing in this movie that's a genuinely just bad idea. The idea that anger is inherently bad. Again, filmmakers, watch the Inside Out movies so you'll learn something.
Like, it's not even that. Again, it's that immediately, apparently what this movie says is, well, if you're having any couples problems, that's it. Divorce. Don't consider therapy or nothing.
Yeah.
Just tell your kid you have to divorce, and if they turn into a monster, just talk to them, and it'll be A-okay, because it's that simple. Like, I'm fortunate to have not had to deal with divorce, but I feel like this kind of flips the bird to people who actually have had to deal with divorce. Which, again, I don't think was its intent. But due to the execution, that's what it comes off as.
These writers did not have the talent and capacity to deal with this subject matter at all.
None of you had the grit to do it, and I do hope that if you guys ever get another chance at making something, you do a much better job. Take this as a learning experience, because I don't want to see any of you besides John Misconduct be fired.
Even the Milan
people
writers?
already struggle. People are struggling in this industry enough, and from what I've learned, it's just much harder to get your ideas out there.
Shoot, it feels nigh impossible to even get in the industry these days.
That was really disappointing movie. Well, we'll do a podcast on a good movie. What's coming out? Mufasa? No.
Can we do a podcast on? Okay, you're talking about an upcoming movie specifically,
or in general?
Oh, in general.
Sonic 3, I guess. I mean, that's the easy answer, but still.
Well, we already. Sure.
I'll
be done for that. But
I don't even know if I can see that, considering how busy this month is going to be.
Sure.
I work. If you want to know how bad things are, I work on my birthday.
You know, we did mention Transformers 1, and that's a movie that needs all the attention it can get.
True. Transformers 1 is really good.
Yeah.
Or maybe we'll do a talk on luck just to complete the Skydance collection. I mean, again, I meant it. Like, this movie gave me new appreciation for luck. Not enough to say that luck's actually good, but, you know, maybe we were too harsh to luck. Maybe.
Yeah, it's because, like I said, it's one of the most incompetently written movies I've seen in a while.
Look, this is the kind of movie that makes you feel like you were too harsh to other movies that do not deserve praise, but suddenly it's like it's like Spellbound's that kind of movie that makes me realize, oh, it actually could be this bad, and that's not just hyperbole.
Hell, even Dragon Ball Evolution has one moment of
good joke.
Comedy. One good joke, specifically the one where
his hair.
No, not the hair. The one where Yamcha gets Roshi out of the hole, and Yamcha makes fools Roshi into taking his 5% and everything. I did chuckle. I do chuckle at that somewhat, kind of. Oh yeah. And there's one more moment. Okay, here's the best scene in Dragon Ball Evolution. That moment where that joke where Goku's eating a pork chop, and Bulma's like, I can't find Roshi's address. Anything? Have you tried Master?
That does sound like a Dragon Ball joke.
Yeah.
Dragon Ball Evolution at least has that one moment. Okay, that joke actually worked.
Like, that is the thing.
I cannot pick of a single moment in Spellbound where at least that one line worked. No, I cannot for the life of me find one good moment in this movie.
Well, I finally found it. Something that Pedro can compare Dragon Ball Evolution positively to without any sense of irony.
And trust me, it makes me feel dirty for saying that.
But yeah, no, I mean,
I feel unclean saying this.
Well, I'll let you not be alone. Like, God, I can't believe I'm gonna say this. Even M. Night Shyamalan's Last Airbender had that boy was bending stones at us. It really hurt line, which is terrible in and of itself, but at least does get the occasional chuckle for it actually just being that pedantic.
Hell, Jova, I'll do you one more. You know what Shyamalan's Last Airbender does?
What?
It explains the world.
Lord, it does. You're right.
Now, granted, it does it through incredibly clunky narration exposition, but at least it explains how the world works.
That it certainly does. God help us. But yeah, no, like it explains its world better than Spellbound does.
When you're being outdone by Last Airbender and Dragon Ball Evolution, time to rethink a few things.
Mm-hmm. All right. Anything else?
Think about this. Think about this. You work for 4 years on a movie, because typically animated movies have a 4-year development cycle. You work for 4 years of your life into this movie, and it's worse than Dragon Ball Evolution. That's like next level depression, man.
We need the math muscles. What happens on this?
Yeah, I'm sure someone will make some kind of retrospective on the development of this movie at some point eventually, because maybe Vicky Jensen years later will talk about how John Lasseter screwed her over. I mean, that's the most likely scenario.
I do wonder.
All right, I guess we're done.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for joining us. See you when we do whatever.
See ya.
LPs aren't dead, by the way. They're still coming. Don't worry.